Hello everyone. Welcome to the channel. Hope you all are having a wonderful day. Today's stories are from r/nosleep. And before we begin, we'll make sure to like and subscribe to support me into making more of these videos. I cut off my own arm in a hotel room. It still wasn't enough. I had a horrible day. My flight was supposed to leave at 6 in the morning, and of course I overslept. I threw my suitcase into the car, barely buttoning my shirt as I sped down the highway. The rain was coming down like a goddamn waterfall, the wind shoving my car from side to side. It was one of those early winter mornings where everything feels wrong from the moment you open your eyes. The airport was in another city, international flight. I was supposed to head to Europe for a week for a company event, but all I could think that morning was, if the day starts like this, what the hell is waiting for me later? It was still dark when I drove through a wooded area. According to the GPS, I was close, but the weather kept getting worse. I could barely see anything through the rain, and it was pure luck I didn't crash. Because right in the middle of the road, a big SUV was parked sideways. Its headlights were on, but in the storm I almost didn't see it. I yanked the wheel and slammed the brakes, tires screeching, water exploding everywhere. I didn't even notice the person standing in the road until it was too late. It looked like they were waiting to be hit. There was just one loud thud. That was it. It happened so fast my brain couldn't even process it. I was gasping for air when the car finally stopped. Jesus Christ, I muttered. The wind shook the car, rain hammering the roof, but even in the storm I could see it. Someone was lying on the ground a few feet away. My hands were shaking. I must have sat there for a full minute, frozen. Then I forced myself to move. I stepped out into the freezing rain. It soaked me instantly, wind whipping my hair into my face. Somehow I still felt like I was burning up inside. My knees were shaking as I walked toward the body. A man lay there on the wet asphalt, wearing a short-sleeved shirt, in that weather. Completely still. What the hell was he doing out here? In the woods? In a storm like this? This can't be real, I whispered. When I got closer, everything felt wrong. His skin had a sick yellow tint, like someone dying of liver failure. I couldn't see any obvious injuries, but the smell coming off him. He stank like a corpse that had been rotting for weeks. Sir, I leaned over him. Sir, can you hear me? That's when he moved. He launched himself off the ground like his spine was spring-loaded and slammed into me. His face, it wasn't a face, just a deformed, pitted mask of flesh. Dark brown liquid dripped from where his mouth should have been, and instead of lips, he had these mandible-like things snapping in and out like some kind of insect. In my headlights, he looked like pure nightmare fuel. He jumped on top of me and bit down before I could react. I threw my right arm up, and his mandibles clamped straight into my forearm. The pain was sharp, electric, shooting up through my bones, but the adrenaline kept me from collapsing. We wrestled there on the cold, rain-soaked road. He tore through my coat and sweater like they were thin paper. I screamed and punched him with my free hand. He tried to drag me toward the darkness behind the cars. I dug my heels into the ground, pulling myself back toward my own vehicle, every instinct screaming at me to run. Then I landed a punch hard. I hit him right in the dark, empty socket where his eye should have been. He jerked back with a horrible, high-pitched screech, clawing at his own face. I didn't wait. I kicked him in the gut with everything I had. He flew backward and slammed into the other car. I sprinted toward my own vehicle. Thank God I'd left the engine running. The storm got so bad I honestly thought I'd never make it to the airport. The wind was ripping trees out of the ground. Rain pounding so hard I could barely see the road. I drove fast, probably too fast, but all I could think about was putting as much distance as possible between me and that thing that bit me. My arm throbbed, burned, pulsed in a way that felt completely wrong. Even through my coat, I could tell something was happening under the skin. When I finally parked, I wrapped the wound with a scarf, hands shaking, and ran toward the terminal. I was soaked again by the time I got inside, but I didn't care. I just didn't want to miss the flight. Then came the next punch to the gut. Every single flight was canceled. I sat in the waiting area trying not to fall apart. As the shock from the attack and the panic faded, Everything hit me all at once. What had happened to me in the woods? The fear. The nausea. My vision tunneled, and then everything went black. I only remember the sound of my body hitting the floor. I woke up in a medical room. The harsh white neon light stabbed into my eyes. For a moment, I didn't even know what planet I was on. "Isaac, are you with me?" a blonde doctor asked as she leaned over me. "Do you know where you are? You passed out in the waiting area." Yeah, I think so. The airport," I muttered. "What happened to your hand?" she asked, nodding toward my bandaged arm. I hesitated for 1 second. "A dog bit me," I said. "A stray. On the way here." Her forehead tightened. She looked me over slowly, suspiciously. "That's a strange-looking dog bite," she said quietly. Then she shrugged, almost dismissively. Either way, I cleaned it up. I pushed myself upright, carefully rubbing my bandaged arm. The pain was deep, pulsing, like something inside was burning its way outward. "The flights won't be leaving for a few days," she continued, digging through a cabinet and pulling out a small box. "Storms too severe." "Fantastic," I muttered. "Antibiotics," she said, handing me the box. "Take 2 a day, just to be safe." When I stood up, my knees buckled, and I had to grab the edge of the bed to stay upright. "You'll be all right?" she asked. "Get a hotel room. Rest. If anything unusual happens, call a doctor." "That's it? I can go?" I asked. "Sure," she said with a careless wave of her hand. Aside from the bite, I didn't find anything wrong. Probably just stress. I thanked her and left, deciding she was right. I needed a hotel room. I needed sleep. I managed to find a hotel with a few rooms still available. It was right next to the airport, tall, modern, and almost completely empty. Everyone who could afford it had already gone home or moved into some high-end place. But for the next few days, this was more than enough for me. I called my boss and explained that all the flights were canceled and I was basically stranded at the airport. Luckily, Europe was getting hammered by storms too, so the air traffic restrictions there pushed the conference back. At least something went right on this nightmare of a day. My room was on the 6th floor, somewhere near the center of the building. Sitting down on the hotel's peanut brown bedspread felt like a blessing. Outside, the storm was tearing through the trees, pounding the roof, but I just sat there in silence, trying to make sense of what had happened that morning. I knew I'd lied to the doctor, but what the hell was I supposed to say? That a rotten, whole-faced insect thing attacked me in the woods? They'd laugh in my face and throw me straight into psych eval. I peeled off my soaked clothes and headed for the shower. I needed the hot water, needed to wash the day off me. I stood under the spray for long minutes. I tried to keep my bandaged arm out of the water, but even when the heat hit it, it felt good somehow. When I finished and dried off, a crushing wave of exhaustion hit me so hard I almost fell asleep standing up. But my arm, it felt wrong. Swollen, itchy, buzzing inside, like the deep electric pins and needles feeling when a limb goes fully numb, only this was way, way worse. I took one of the antibiotics the doctor gave me and collapsed onto the bed. Sleep swallowed me instantly. I don't know how long I was out. "Wake up!" A whisper. "Wake up! Hey, wake up!" I jolted upright, heart hammering. I almost screamed. I thought someone was in the room with me, but it was empty. The light was still on. I must have fallen asleep without turning it off. The bed looked like I'd been thrashing around all night, blankets twisted, sheets kicked off. Even though I remembered drifting into the deepest sleep of my life, my right eye was glued shut with some crusty gunk, and my nose was running. Guess standing in freezing rain twice in one day wasn't great for me. I stumbled to the bathroom to wash my face. The moment I dipped my hands into the cold water, I almost screamed. Felt like the water cut straight to the bone. A burning shock that shot up my arm. I yanked my hand back out of the sink, and that's when I saw it. My skin was yellow, spreading outward from under the bandage, covering my entire forearm. My stomach twisted into a knot. I washed my face with my left hand, and from my eye I pulled out long, stretchy strings of brownish mucus. It was disgusting, but my vision cleared immediately. Then, shaking, I started unwrapping the bandage. What I saw underneath, I wasn't ready for it. No wound, no blood, just a single black, pea-sized hole. Right where the bite had been. I froze. My arm pulsed, the sick yellow color crawling up my skin. The hole was deep, like someone had burned a perfect circle through fabric. Only this time the fabric was my flesh. I touched the edge of the hole with my left finger. Pressed down gently. Nothing. I didn't feel a damn thing. Like it wasn't even my body. And then, I don't even know why, shock maybe, or insanity, but I slid my finger into the hole. Slowly, carefully, I pushed it deeper. I expected searing pain, expected to collapse, but there was nothing. Just the cold, dry inner wall of living flesh. Then something moved. Something inside my arm. The moment I touched it, it slid away from my fingertip. I jerked my hand back with a scream. A smear of thick, brown, foul-smelling slime clung to my finger. The exact same stench I'd smelled once already that day. I was pacing around my hotel room in nothing but my underwear, walking the same 1-meter stretch over and over again. I had no idea what to do. When something terrible happens, your instinct is to run. Just run until your legs give out. But this thing was in my arm, in my body. I couldn't outrun it. My thoughts were spinning. What the hell do you even do in a situation like this? Google image search sure as hell wasn't helpful. My other idea was to tell someone, go back to the doctor at the airport, or talk to whoever was at the front desk. But then reality kicked in. If I told anyone what was actually happening, they'd either lock me up or cut me open for experiments like I was in some shitty sci-fi movie. So I was left with one insane option. I had to get it out myself. Maybe that would stop the mutation, infection, whatever the hell this was. But with what? My finger barely fit in the hole. I tried a pen next, but it almost got stuck. I was disgusted with myself. I felt like throwing up. The helplessness was suffocating. Then it hit me, tweezers. There had to be some in the hotel kitchen or maybe at the front desk. Feeling bold from desperation more than anything, I rushed out of the room after throwing on some clothes. I ended up at the reception desk. No one was there. I kept my infected hand hidden at my side, praying no one would notice the hole in it. I rang the bell. Nothing. Rang it again. Then again, faster, more frantic. Finally, a sleepy-looking young guy wandered out from somewhere in the back. "How can I help you, sir?" he yawned. "If you need a taxi, we can't get one. The storm." No. I cut him off, voice shaking. "I need tweezers. Any kind." He stared at me like he couldn't tell if this was a joke or not. I'll see if I can find something," he said, nervous, and disappeared again. I kept glancing around, clutching my yellowing arm, stretching my neck to see where the hell he went. Eventually he came back. "Here you go, sir," he said, holding it out. "It's just an eyebrow tweezer, but maybe it works?" "Yes." I snatched it too quickly. "Perfect. Just ingrown hair on my chest." His face said, "I don't want to know," and honestly, fair. I practically ran back to the elevator. The hotel was basically empty, and thankfully the same lift I came down in was waiting. I stepped inside, hit my floor, and the old thing groaned as it started moving. "This stupid elevator is so damn slow," I muttered. Then a quiet voice whispered, 1, 2, 3, 4. I froze, looked around. Nobody else was in the elevator. 5, 6, 7, 8. What the hell? I said out loud. "Who's there?" 9, 10, 11. "Stop it," I shouted. "Who are you? What are you counting?" I slapped my hands over my ears. The voice kept getting louder, but nothing changed. And then it hit me. The voice wasn't in the elevator. It was in my head. Something inside me was counting. As I held my hands to my ears, I saw it. Another tiny black hole forming on my right arm. Just like the first one. Tiny, deep, perfectly round. Almost at my wrist. The elevator dinged. The doors slid open and I ran. 30, 31, 32. "Shut up," I gasped as I sprinted to my room. I burst inside and slammed the door. sat on the edge of the bed, pulled out the tweezers. Didn't wait even a second. I aimed the tweezers at the hole. 44, 45, 46. You're gonna shut up now, I hissed, and shoved the tweezers into the hole. My entire body seized. Every muscle in me clenched at once. I froze, completely paralyzed, then toppled sideways off the bed like a rag doll. 60, 61, 62. Then another voice spoke. He's blacking out again. It wasn't the same voice. Different tone, different rhythm, different creature. And then I passed out, stiff as a corpse. When I came to, I honestly thought I'd finally lost my mind. But at least it was quiet. No voices counting. No whispers. Nothing crawling around in my head. What waited for me, though, no one can mentally prepare for something like that. My right hand had become a disgusting thing. A dark, sickly yellow from my fingertips all the way up to my elbow, covered in tiny black holes. Some were the size of a pen tip. Others were as big as a damn chestnut. My stomach flipped just looking at it. That perforated, deformed limb that used to be my hand. There had to be at least 30 holes, and the smell, God, like some dead animal had been stuffed under my skin and left to rot. And in the bigger holes, something moved. Sick yellow-black bodies, twitching, shifting, like maggots in a rotten log, except this was my arm. A wave of nausea slammed into me, and I stumbled to the toilet. I threw up, hard. I don't even understand how I had anything left inside me. It was thick, brown, slimy, disgusting, and it stank like a decomposing carcass. I crouched beside the toilet, trying to breathe, trying to get control of myself again. Then something moved in front of me. In the vomit, something bigger, something alive. I reached in with my yellow, hole-ridden arm. At that point, that hand was already ruined. What difference did it make? I pushed the thick goo aside and nearly passed out when I saw it. A worm writhed inside it. A big one. Yellow-black, pulsing, legs scrambling, mandibles snapping like tiny scissors. This came out of me. I slammed the toilet lid shut and staggered back into the room. The whole place was spinning. And then everything got worse. All the voices came back at once. One screaming, one humming, one barking orders. And the counting voice, steady, relentless, underneath them all. "Aha!" I screamed. "Shut up. All of you, shut the fuck up." I grabbed my head with my good hand, nails digging into my scalp hard enough to draw blood. I collapsed to my knees, screaming while the voices overlapped and roared and gasped and chattered. Curled up on the floor, I saw my soaked pants lying beside the bed. My leather belt was still looped through them. I let go of my head, ripped the belt out of the pants, wrapped it above my elbow, as tight as I possibly could, cut off the blood flow, and instantly, like someone turned down the volume, the voices softened. They kept fading, until they were almost gone. I stood there in the middle of the room, gasping for air. Just me, in sweatpants, staring at my right arm, that yellow, hole-ridden, pulsing monstrosity. And then a single thought hit me. There was a knock on my door. "Room service," a woman called from the hallway. I yanked the door open immediately, keeping my right arm tucked behind me so she wouldn't see it. "Good evening, sir," said a young woman with jet-black hair. "You ordered the drinks?" "Yeah," I blurted. "You got everything?" She smiled politely and handed me the 2 bottles of vodka. "Should I charge it to your room, sir?" "Yes, yeah, of course," I muttered, and then flinched. The voices in my head had started again. Even with the belt cutting off the blood flow, those things inside me still pushed through, whispering filth, hissing orders. "Kill her. Cut her open. Eat her. Eat her now." "You okay, sir?" the woman asked, her expression tightening. "Yeah, just a really bad headache," I stammered. "Alcohol usually helps." I forced something like a smile onto my face, took the bottles and tossed them onto the bed behind me. "All right then, have a good night," she said, though a flash of disgust crossed her face. "Sir, something is dripping from your nose." Only then did I feel it. Thick, brown, sticky fluid sliding down from my nostril. Oh, I'm a little sick, sorry. I wiped it away quickly. Thanks. Before she could respond, I slammed the door. I couldn't stand the whispering anymore, the screaming, the chewing sounds in my mind, like they were gnawing on my thoughts, shredding pieces of me from the inside. I tightened the belt on my arm again. The leather was digging deep into the flesh now, but I didn't care. I needed to get rid of them. I grabbed one of the vodka bottles, ripped the cap off, and took several huge swallows. I'd ordered the big ones on purpose. I knew I'd need all of it. The alcohol hit me instantly, hard and dizzying. Then I poured the rest over my disgusting arm. It burned in a way I can't even describe. I could feel the things inside the holes writhing, squirming, clawing at the still living parts just to make me hurt. Fuck you, I roared, taking another deep drink. Stumbling, half drunk, I slammed the bottle against the edge of the minibar. It shattered, glass scattering across the floor, but one long, sharp shard stayed in my hand. I reached for the second bottle to open that one too, but then something tickled my nose. It slid down toward my lips. Oh, fuck off, I yelled, slurring a little. I reached up instinctively to wipe away whatever was dripping, but this wasn't fluid. This was solid, warm, alive. Something was wriggling its way out of me. Maybe it was the alcohol crashing through my system. Maybe I'd finally snapped, but a blind, feral rage filled me. I grabbed the thing hanging from my nose with my good hand and pulled. I yanked it, ripped it, dragged it like I was trying to tear my whole face off. I screamed, cursed, made guttural, animal sounds I didn't even know a person could make. Every muscle in my body locked up. Don't let him! A voice exploded inside my head. Don't let him take it out. I pulled harder. My vision burst with stars. Pain shot through my skull like lightning. And with one violent, desperate jerk, the thing tore free. Blood and that same brown, stretchy sludge poured from my nose. And dangling from my fingers was a disgusting, worm-like creature. Exactly like the one I'd thrown up earlier, long and yellow-black, tiny legs thrashing, little mandibles snapping in the air. I didn't even think. I hurled it to the ground. It burst like a rotten pudding, smeared across the carpet in a foul yellow smear. "No!" The voices shrieked all at once inside my skull. I stood there, shaking, every part of me trembling with rage and terror. "You're not getting away, Isaac," one of the voices hissed. "We're still inside you. We're gonna take your body. We'll have control soon." "Over my dead body," I whispered. Then I lifted the broken vodka bottle high above my head. I brought the broken vodka bottle down on my arm. I wasn't ready for what happened next. The glass didn't cut at all. It was like trying to slice through a rubber sheet with a dull pair of scissors. My arm was slick, stretchy, almost elastic. It looked solid, but as soon as I pressed the shard in, it just bent and slid off uselessly. I tried jamming the glass into the holes, hoping I could tear it open from the inside, but the flesh just stretched around it, then snapped back into place like nothing had happened. "Aha! F-U-C-K!" I screamed, hacking and sawing at the rotting yellow limb like a man possessed. Eventually, I collapsed onto the bed, panting. In my frustration, I grabbed the second bottle of vodka and chugged until my throat burned. And then I heard it, a giggle, then another, and another. Every single one of those goddamn voices in my skull, giggling at me. "Told you, Isaac," one of them purred with smug satisfaction. "We're taking control." "Fuck you, you piece of shit," I screamed back, completely unhinged, and something inside me snapped. For good. "You're not screwing me over," I shouted, laughing like a lunatic as I staggered to my feet. I slashed the broken glass into the skin, where the flesh was only starting to turn yellow. The shard sliced deep. Blood poured instantly. Pain ripped through me like an electric shock. But I didn't care. I needed them out. Cut and stabbed. Again and again. Blood splattered onto the floor, onto my legs, the walls, everywhere. I bit down on the end of the belt so hard I thought I'd snap my own teeth. My hand was hanging in pieces now, barely held together by tendons. Maybe bone. Maybe nothing. "Isaac, stop!" one of the voices cried, and for the first time it sounded scared. "You'll die. Stop. Fuck off." I screamed and stumbled toward the bathroom. I didn't go inside. I had a better idea. I had to get the hand off. I shoved the ruined limb between the bathroom door and the frame, and slammed the door shut as hard as I could. Blood smeared across the white surface instantly. The floor looked like a slaughterhouse. Something cracked. Bone or tendon, something gave way inside. My knees buckled and I collapsed. I was right on the brink of passing out. The voices were begging, pleading, shrieking in terror, each in a different tone, but it only pushed me further. This had to end. I dragged myself upright and slammed into the door again. My stump squished, cracked, popped. Black spots danced in my vision. The room flickered in and out. "Come on, motherfuckers!" I screamed, almost laughing. "Talk now. Talk!" But none of them said a word. I threw myself at the door one more time. My head cracked against the frame, but by then I barely felt anything at all. Except one thing, my arm was gone. I stumbled back from the door, and blood poured freely down my side, my legs, soaking into my clothes. In the room's mirror, I saw it. Worms, writhing, squirming, slipping, were dangling from the exposed stump. Not many, but enough. They were still trying to crawl upward, burrowing into the remaining flesh. I raised the stump and slammed it into the wall with everything I had. Most of the worms burst into a yellow-black smear against the plaster. Then I calmly pushed my hair back with my blood-soaked hand. I don't really know what happened after that. Honestly, I don't think the person who walked out of that room afterward was me. They showed me the security footage later. Frame by frame, it was me on the screen. My face looked calm, happy even, peaceful, like none of the nightmare I just lived through had ever happened. I marched down the hotel hallway with half an arm. A pillowcase wrapped around the stump, the belt cinched tight again so I wouldn't bleed out right there on the carpet. And under my arm, I was carrying something black, slimy, something so hideous that even through the grainy camera feed, I knew exactly what it was. I watched myself step into the elevator, just waiting, as if nothing were wrong, as if it were a perfectly normal morning and I wasn't drenched in my own blood, missing a limb, hauling a monster like it was luggage. Then the elevator doors opened. I walked to the reception desk, and I rang the little silver bell, like it was the most natural thing in the world. The final frame showed the receptionist's face draining of all color, and then she bolted off screen, screaming, "That's it. End of the footage." I wish I could say things got better after that. Losing my arm was one thing. Trying to explain everything? Impossible. I lost my job, lost my credibility. They said I had some kind of psychotic break, that the injuries were self-inflicted, that I must have been high or drunk or having some drug-induced episode. Maybe they're right, maybe they're not. But there's one thing I know for sure. I kept my free will. I shouldn't have looked out my window last night. My name is Ryan Bowman, and I'm here to see if anyone might be able to help me out. From what people in my area say about this thing, which isn't much, I don't think the police will be of much assistance. I've recently moved to a small town in central Michigan. I won't give the exact name of the town due to obvious reasons, but let me tell you, it's fucking tiny. Less than 600 people here. Exactly what I've been looking for, to be honest. I wanted a change from the busy life in Grand Rapids, so I made the hour-long move to the country. Everything started out great. I started renting my 3-bedroom house with a garage and 6 acres included on the property. I could see my nearest neighbor, but far enough away that I could literally scream at the top of my lungs and they might just barely hear me. Which is relevant to the story because if whatever's been stalking outside my bedroom window at night breaks in, I'm screwed. No one will hear me screaming for help from inside my home. Not that it would do me any good because the people in this town know about it, they just somehow ignore it. We don't talk about him, don't call out to him, don't talk to him, don't even look at him. That's how you end up missing. The older gentleman at the bar told me when I asked about strange humming noises at night. That was last week he told me that, and so far I had taken his advice. That is until last night. It was accident, but either way I saw him. I had gone to bed early last night. Thanksgiving dinner at my mom's had me drained. Combine that with an hour-long drive and you can imagine how tired I was. Once I got home, I didn't even get dressed in my pajamas. I just got in bed and popped on a movie. Normally I don't smoke inside of my house, but today was an exception. No way in my tired state of mind was I getting up to go sit on the porch to smoke, especially after the warning the old man gave me. Instead, I opened my bedroom window to let the smoke escape and enjoyed my smoke. Not long after I passed out into a peaceful sleep. Thump. Something woke me up later in the night and I sat up in a panic. I was also freezing and a quick glance towards my window revealed I had left it open while smoking. I wrapped myself in my blankets and walked over to the window to close it. Just as I grabbed the window to close it, the humming started. I froze instantly, goosebumps forming all over my body. Before I had a chance to react, a face pressed up against the screen on my window. Now, if that isn't scary enough, it's important to know that my bedroom is on the second floor. I couldn't make out much facial features due to how dark it was, but from what I could tell his mouth hung open loosely, like his jaw was broken. His head looked to be of about average size other than the fact it was too long. I snapped out of my state of horror and slammed my window shut. Instantly the face dropped out of sight, as if however he had been holding himself up had given out and he tumbled back to the ground. I heard a loud thud as his body hit the ground. I stood in complete shock, not knowing what the hell I just saw. I was beyond terrified. How the fuck did a guy just peek into my second-story window? The voice of the old man replayed in my head and my fear kicked up a notch. The humming outside picked back up, but this time more frantic, like he was excited. Knock, knock, knock. 3 loud knocks rang throughout my house. The humming now sounded so loud that it sounded like it was coming right outside my bedroom door. Knock, knock, knock. This time it was on my bedroom door. My heart started to pound so hard I thought I was gonna pass out. How the fuck did he get inside my house with locked doors and up my stairs at my bedroom door all in the matter of seconds? I did the only thing I could think of and scrambled under my bed. It was the only place I could think of to hide in such a short time. Almost as soon as I crawled under, the springs on my bed slowly began to sink down onto my back. He was sitting on my bed. I laid as still as possible and tried to contain my breathing, which wasn't easy considering I was on the verge of fainting from fear. He started humming again, and God, did it sound so wrong up this close. The springs on my bed started to press harder into my back as he began to move towards the edge of my bed. I looked up and saw dirty fingers wrap around the edge of the bed. I saw his ratty hair start to dangle over the edge as he began to lean over. I slammed my eyes shut and started to pray. I did not want to see whatever this thing looked like up close. One look, Rianne. His raspy voice hissed. I ignored him and kept my eyes shut. Something told me that was the only thing keeping me alive. His rotten breath hit me in waves, causing my gag reflex to hit. He started to half chuckle, half hum. I never had to fight back tears as hard as I did in that moment. He sat there for probably 15 more minutes, humming just inches from my face. I was beyond relieved when the pressure of the bed lifted and the smell faded. Atmosphere in my room that he'd left. Still I stayed under the bed, my eyes shut firmly. I stayed that way all the way until sunlight filled my room. Only then did I come out. I was incredibly tired as I hadn't slept all night. I decided I'd get a quick nap, then head to town to ask more about this humming man. I woke up in a panic when I seen it was already dark outside. I checked my phone and it said 6 p.m. I can already hear the humming outside and I'm too terrified to try and leave, for fear I'll run into him. I called the police and you know what they said to me? They said, "Don't look at him. Whatever you do, just don't look." So I'm completely on my own to deal with this monster. Please, if anyone has any idea what the fuck this is or what I can do to make it leave, please help me.